Okay, sorry for the interruption which had occurred in yesterday's video. So I'll be starting again with the disorders of the sebaceous glands. Okay, so first one, very important one and very common one is ectopic sebaceous glands. They're also called Foray spots. Okay, these are one of the common conditions which we encounter in OPD conditions. Okay, they are heterotopic sebaceous glands that can occur around the vermilion border of the lips, or sometimes even they can present inside the oral mucosa, but most commonly they occur over the lips. Okay, they are commonly multiple and appear as symmetrical, barely elevated, discrete yellow papules, and they are usually asymptomatic. The patient won't be having any symptoms, just their main complaint will be you'll be having some yellow colored papules over the lips, and they will be very minute, like pinhead sized minute papules which are present, and usually they are asymptomatic and there is no need for any treatment. But if the patient has got some cosmetic concern, they can go in for carbon dioxide laser ablation. Otherwise there is no need for any treatment as they are asymptomatic. Okay, and coming to the sebaceous gland tumors, they can be either benign tumor or they can be malignant tumors. The benign tumor is called sebaceous adenoma, and they usually present like pink or waxy yellow colored papules, especially over the face, maybe round, raised or sessile or sometimes pedunculated, very small in size, maybe 1 centimeter or less in size. Okay, and the malignant variant is called sebaceous carcinoma. It's very uncommon malignant tumor. It is common in men over the age of 40 years, usually present as solitary firm tumor, yellow orange in color, especially over the face and scalp. Here you can make out sebaceous carcinoma which is present over the lower eyelid. Okay. Next, coming to sebaceous cyst. So everybody of you, like you have heard of sebaceous cyst in surgery, but actually it is a misnomer. So there is nothing to do with sebaceous glands in the sebaceous cyst. So it mainly a cyst containing of keratin and its breakdown products surrounded by an epidermoid wall. So there is no role of any sebaceous glands in the sebaceous cyst. So then what is a true sebaceous cyst? The true sebaceous cyst is called steatocystoma multiplex. So this is related to the sebaceous gland. So it is defined as multiple cysts in the dermis having sebaceous gland lobules in their wall and containing sebum, usually present over the back. Okay, so there will be multiple cysts which are present. And why there should be a what is the etiology of this is most likely to be a genetically determined failure of canalization between the sebaceal lobules and the follicular pore. I already described in the anatomy. So there will be these sebaceous lobules which are connected through a duct which opens to the follicular pore. So there will be failure in the canalization between the sebaceous lobules and the follicular pore. So what happens? So whatever the sebum is secreted, it got accumulated inside itself. So it won't be secreted outside. So this results in the formation of cysts. Okay, so that is steatocystoma multiplex. Okay. So next thing is seborrhea. So what is seborrhea? It is nothing but increase in sebum secretion. So excess sebum secretion. So why there should be an excess in sebum secretion? So you know the sebum secretion is controlled by hormones like androgens. So wherever there is an increase in the circulating androgens, there will be increase in sebum secretion. Sometimes even if the circulating androgens are normal, but there will be some increased sensitivity. The receptor sensitivity will be increased. Okay, so that can also lead to excess sebum production. Okay, and one of the important main prerequisite for the development of acne is excess sebum production. Okay. So coming to the important topic, that is acne vulgaris. So it is commonly called pimples, like the normal layman what they call as pimples. So it is called acne vulgaris. It's very common. You all know that. So it's one of the commonest skin conditions which is seen, and it is very easily diagnosed. So what is important in these, the patients with acne will be having usually it affects the mental and social well-being of the patient. Okay, there are multiple therapeutic options which is available right now for the treatment of acne, but it requires skill to treat. Okay, like the treatment usually will be tailor-made to particular patient depending upon the type of acne, what might be the etiology, depending upon the clinical features. So we have to mix and match the treatment and go about it. Okay, so it affects more than 80% of people at some point in their life. So you know how common it is. So coming to the definition, acne is defined as an inflammatory disease of the pilosebaceous units. Pilosebaceous means sebaceous gland and the attached hair follicle, okay, which is characterized by seborrhea, that is excess sebum secretion, formation of comedones, erythematous papules, pustules, and less frequently by nodules, cysts, and scarring. So what can you expect in acne? The acne can present with comedones. Okay, comedones means what we usually call like whiteheads and blackheads. So those are the comedones, and erythematous papules, that is reddish papules, pustules, and less frequently, especially in severe grade of acne, you can even find nodules, cysts, and also scarring. Okay. Coming to the epidemiology of acne, it typically occurs around adolescence, like teenage group, they are more commonly affected. It can present in neonates. Sometimes neonates can develop acne, mostly because of the circulating maternal androgens. And sometimes acne can persist beyond adolescence in susceptible individuals. Okay, and physiological acne is considered a normal variant of maturation. So whatever like teenage group, these people usually get small acne. So it is considered as a normal variant, but clinical acne persists and progresses beyond the period of adolescence. Even beyond the period of adolescence, it still persists and it keeps on progressing. Okay, that is a clinical acne. And 30% of teenagers have got acne of sufficient severity to require some form of treatment. Usually mild acne, very few lesions which are common in the teenage, usually they require no treatment, they'll come and they'll just go off, and that is a common in that age group. But 30% of these teenagers will have severe form of acne which is sufficient severity to require some sort of treatment in them. Okay, so coming to the pathogenesis of acne, so how exactly acne is developed. So it involves four main factors. Okay, one I already discussed, that is increased sebum production, increased secretion of the sebum, and the second one is hypercornification of the pilosebaceous duct. So this I have told you while dealing with the histology. So the sebaceous duct, what I have told you, it is made up of keratinizing squamous epithelium. So that's very important, because hypercornification of the pilosebaceous duct, what will happen? There will be more layers which is produced, and this keratin will obstruct the this pilosebaceous duct. Once there is an obstruction, again it will there will be block to the sebum secretion, and there will be an inflammation and formation of acne. Okay, next third important thing is abnormality of the microbial flora, especially the colonization of duct with Propionibacterium acne. P. acne is actually normal commensal, so but if it is increased, more number of P. acne colonization, again it will lead to more inflammation and development of acne. And fourth thing is inflammation. Okay, so this picture is very good. It is depicting how exactly acne lesions are formed. In the first picture you can make out there will be keratotic infundibulum, that is the sebaceous duct, whatever is there, that there will be increased in the keratin production. Okay, there will be increase in the keratin production and increase in the layers of this keratinizing epithelium. So there will be a blockage, or there will be narrowing of that duct. So what will happen? And apart from that, there will be an increased sebum production also. So both of them together, they lead to the formation of comedone. Okay, there will be obstruction. So whatever the sebum products will remain there itself without any excretion. So that will form a comedone. So once the comedone is formed, it might sometimes along with that there will be increase in the Propionibacterium acne, which is leading to more inflammation, more and more inflammation. That picture you can make out, there is a lot of inflammation which is going on, and sometimes what will happen, it may rupture. Okay, this more inflammation and nodule formation, that may rupture, which leads into cyst formation, or sometimes if there is still more inflammation, then going for pustule formation. Okay, pustule and nodule which ruptures to form cyst. Later it heal with scarring. Okay, again similar picture you can make out, there will be a sebaceous gland and hypercornification of the pilosebaceous duct, which will lead to formation of a comedone, and then there will be this Propionibacterium acne, which is increased in the number, which leads to more and more inflammation, which will form an erythematous papule and also a pustule, and if it is if the inflammation is still more, it can go in form a nodule, and it can rupture, and they can form a cyst and scarring. Okay, so coming to the grades of acne, there are 4 grades. Grade 1, which contains only comedones, that is sometimes open comedones or closed comedones. Open comedones or closed comedones, and occasionally few papules can be present. In grade 2, papules will be there, comedones will also be there with few pustules. Okay, grade 3 still more severe variant, so it contains predominant of pustules, nodules, and also abscess formation. Grade 4, it mainly contains cysts, abscess, and scars. So from increase, like from mild variant to severe variant, grade 1 will be mild variant, so grade 4 will be the most severe form, which contains mainly cysts, abscess, and scars. Okay, in this picture you can make out mild small comedones. Okay, these open comedones, they are also called whiteheads, which have a closed surface, whereas this blackheads is, they are called open comedones. You can make out, and few hyperpigmented macules also you can make out here. So they are all healed, already healed acne, which are present as hyperpigmented macules here. Okay, here also you can see lot of comedones on the forehead. It is a typical teenage acne. Okay, typical teenage acne with mild few comedones. That is grade 1 acne. Okay, here also again comedones. This is how a white head or a closed comedone look like. So here you can make out this blackheads, this blackish thing, whatever you can see. They are the open comedones. They are also called blackheads. Apart from the comedones, you can even see multiple erythematous papules, few pustules also, and few bigger ones, bigger lesions. So these are all nodules or even cysts, and you can even see lot of scarring in this patient. Okay, so this one. Here you can even find a lot of erythema. So much of redness is there, erythematous papules along with pustules. This is the most severe, one is a severe form of acne. Here we are going to see only numerous nodules and cysts, okay, and scarring. So mild acne, few comedones, sometimes few erythematous papules. Moderate acne are going to see along with erythematous papules and comedones, there will be few pustules also. Severe acne are going to see nodules, cysts, and scarring. Alright. So once the acne lesions occur, they are going to heal, right? So after healing, what will happen? Either there may be some scarring or there may be hyperpigmentation. So scarring, especially if the lesions are more deep, more dermis is destroyed, so there will be scarring. So it is a consequence of abnormal resolution or wound healing following the inflammation. Hyperpigmentation, so I already showed you in the first picture. Sometimes the acne will heal with hyperpigmentation in patients particularly with type 3 and type 4 skin. So these are the Fitzpatrick skin types. So usually our Indian skin type will be type 3 to type 4, means quite darker skin types. So this hyperpigmentation is common in darker skin types like our Indian skin. Usually very few acne lesions, especially which are superficial, not involving like nodule cysts and all, they will of course result in scarring. Superficial lesions, comedones, when they heal, they usually leave behind hyperpigmentation. Okay, hyperpigmented macules may persist following the resolution of inflammatory acne lesions. Alright. So this is a picture of post acne scarring. Okay. So coming to drug induced acne. So what is a drug induced acne? Few drugs can induce acne, especially these halogens, androgens, steroids. So very important is steroids, both topical and systemic steroids can result in acne. So whenever the patient walks in, you have to make sure the patient has not used any steroids. So it is so commonly, one of the very commonly abused drugs. Whenever the patient get acne, most of them they will go to nearby a medical store or a pharmacy and they'll buy over the counter medicines, most of them which contain potent steroids. They themselves will aggravate acne lesions. So most of the patients they would have already used some steroids which will aggravate. If already acne lesions are there, they will aggravate the lesions, or sometimes they may use steroids for other purposes like for tinea or even for some as a fairness cream, they would have purchased over the counter unknowingly that they contain steroid. But these potent steroids will result in formation of acne. And along with that, these anti-tubercular drugs like INH rifampicin can cause lithium, phenytoin, all those drugs can cause drug-induced acne. Usually, so how do you diagnose? Like comedones are usually absent in drug-induced acne. Most of them will be having papules and pustules. Okay, uniform papules will be there along with some pustules. Usually, comedones won't be present in drug-induced acne. Okay. So guidelines for treatment of acne, how are going to treat acne? One is clinical assessment. So acne assessment of severity, you have to assess whether it is mild or moderate acne or very severe acne, because the treatment modality will differ depending upon the grade of acne. And also patient education. Okay, if the patient can understand the treatment, like how long it needs for treating complete resolution, or what are the course of the acne, all those things you have to understand. You should know the patient education, and discussion of goals of treatment and patient expectations is very important. Okay, so it's not a acute treatment like within a few days it won't resolve. It will take a long term treatment, like maybe 4 to 6 months the patient have to take treatment. Okay, and you have to explain what are you going to treat the acne with, and how are you going to manage it. And the patients might be thinking like once if they take 1 or 2 week treatment it will resolve, but it is not like that. You have to tell them initially for first 2 weeks what are they going to expect, and then how many days it will take, and what are they going to do with the scars, what are they going to do with the pigmentation. So everything you need to assess, and you have to finally come to the choice of therapy and which drugs you are going to use for that particular patient. Okay, coming to the treatment modalities. So what are the treatment modalities we have? We have topical treatment, we have oral medicines, and also we will have some surgical treatment for acne. So what are the topical treatment? We can give topical antibiotics. Okay, what are the topical antibiotics? Like most commonly used ones are the clindamycin, erythromycin, even we have tetracycline, clarithromycin, dapsone. Okay, nowadays we use more of dapsone also, topical antibiotics. So along with that we have benzoyl peroxide. Okay, benzoyl peroxide is a very good drug. All these topical, this clindamycin, all those things we have got lot of resistance, but benzoyl peroxide still doesn't have any resistance to Propionibacterium acne, so it is one of the very good drug. Apart from that we have topical azelaic acid and topical retinoids. They also work very nicely, like topical retinoic acid and topical adapalene. Okay, these are the topical retinoids which we use. So coming to the oral therapy, we have oral antibiotics like erythromycin, azithromycin. Azithromycin usually will give in pulse dosing. Okay, like weekly 3 days we'll give. Apart from that we have tetracycline, doxycycline and minocycline. Okay, coming to hormonal therapy, so which patients will, some first few patients especially who have got, we feel like abnormal hormones, like especially in PCOD patients, more circulating androgens. So there we have to go in for an hormonal therapy along with routine acne therapy. So what are the drugs we are going to use? Anti-androgens like cyproterone acetate, oral contraceptive pills, and also this drospirenone. It's a novel progestin which is derived from spironolactone. So especially hormonal therapy, we will keep it aside only for the patients who we are suspecting hormonal induced acne, especially patients with PCOD. Okay. So coming to the isotretinoin, it's one of the wonder drug we can call for acne treatment. So it is a vitamin A derivative. So why it is a wonder drug? Because it acts in every step which leads to the formation of acne. Okay, it is all that it will act in all the factors which will lead to acne. So it will decrease the sebaceous gland size. It will reduce the sebum production up to 80%. It alters the composition of sebum. It reduces the comedogenesis. It also lowers the P acne concentration, and it has got an anti-inflammatory activity. Okay, so it will reduce each and every step in the acne production. Okay, so where is it indicated? In severe acne, usually nodulocystic acne, acne which is recalcitrant to routine treatment like the oral antibiotics and topical antibiotics, and even topical retinoids it is not reducing, then we can go in for isotretinoin. Excessive seborrhea, lot of sebum secretion, so much of oily skin which will lead to acne. So in that condition also we can go in for isotretinoin. And conditions like acne conglobata and other unusual acne variants. Acne conglobata is the severe form of acne, okay, and also in acne scarring, okay, you can give isotretinoin. So what is the dosage? Usually 0.5 to 1 milligram per kg per day, which is given after meals. So most of them will not tolerate this 1 mg per kg. It's very difficult to tolerate. So ideally we will give just 20 mg, later and reduce to 10 mg. So that is actually good enough. 20 mg per day or 10 mg per day, you can reduce it. So cumulative dose is 120 to 150 mg per kg. So coming to the side effects of isotretinoin is very very important. So teratogenicity is very very important side effect of isotretinoin. So you have to be very cautious in giving for especially females with in this childbearing age group, because you have to explain it to them. Teratogenicity is a very important side effect of isotretinoin, and you have to advise them against pregnancy. Okay, we should make sure the patient is not getting pregnant while on the treatment. And even if you stop isotretinoin, the patient should not get pregnant for another 3 months, like 1 to 3 months you should not get pregnant, because the circulating breakdown products of isotretinoin will still be present in the blood and still they can cause teratogenicity. So you have to make sure the patient is not pregnant at the time of starting the treatment, and you have to mention in every time the patient comes for the follow-up, I have to mention it and make sure that she is not going to get pregnant while she is on treatment. Okay, so that's very very important. You have to counsel the patient, then only you have to start isotretinoin. And then one of the most common side effects is your mucocutaneous side effects and dryness. Especially the patient will have dry lips, lot of dry lips and cheilitis. So you have to explain them. Most of them, 95 up to 95% of the patients who is on isotretinoin will be having dry lips and cheilitis. So we have to make sure the patient use some sort of moisturizing lip balm and drink lot of water, and have to explain them before, like, this is the side effect you are going to get. So other than these are the most important things you have to warn the patient on. And other than that, there might be elevation of serum lipids, some neurological side effects like pseudotumor cerebri, neuritis, depression, mood swing, arthritis, myalgia. So these are all the side effects which are not so common. Okay, and acne flares. So what is this acne flare? Sometimes as soon as we start isotretinoin, initial period there might be even flare of acne. That also I have to explain, because when we start isotretinoin and the acne flares, the patient think that when after taking the treatment the lesions have increased and they might stop it. So I have to explain them beforehand that there might be acne flares in the initial period only. After that there will be reduction in the acne. So I have to explain about the acne flares also. Okay. So this is about isotretinoin. Coming to the physical modalities or the surgical treatment, what we say, one is the Comedone expression. We have got an instrument called Comedone extractor. So what we are going to do, we will extract these black heads and white heads. So that will be the acne will heal more faster. And aspiration of cystic lesions, especially large cysts are there, they will be more painful, and sometimes pus filled cysts will be there. So just extract it, and then along with that we'll give intralesional steroids also, especially for the nodules. They won't usually subside on their own. Most of them will need some intralesional steroid for the resolution, especially of nodules, cryotherapy, and also this alpha hydroxy acid. These are nothing but your chemical peeling. Okay, especially the salicylic acid pills works very good in acne. Okay. So again, acne treatment plan, topical therapy for grade 1 and grade 2 acne. Grade 1, grade 2 only will give topical treatment. Oral antibiotics in moderate to severe acne, especially the patient have got pustules, lot of inflammation, will go in for oral antibiotics. And then combination with topical retinoids improves efficacy, and with benzoyl peroxide decreases the resistance. So whenever you are selecting topical treatment, these use topical retinoids and benzoyl peroxide. So more effective compared with just topical antibiotics alone. Duration of treatment will be around 4 to 6 months. So we have to counsel the patient to be like more compliant with the treatment, and any treatment started must be continued for at least 6 weeks before changing, and advise them on potential side effects. Okay, I have told you, explained like now we have to explain, especially for isotretinoin or even topical retinoids. have to advise the potential side effects of the treatment, and hormonal therapy is used for patients with moderate acne who also need contraception, or those who need hormonal therapy to regulate their hormonal irregularities, okay, especially the patients with PCOS, and have to encourage the compliance of the patient, okay, for completion of the treatment, okay. And then these are the assignment questions. First one is describe briefly the structure of sebaceous gland with the label diagram. Add a note on its function. And the second question will be an acne. Describe the etiopathogenesis, clinical features, and treatment of acne. Okay. Thank you.